Hey Nadiah, 2019 is just around the corner, and I'm kind of trying to go around HR leaders and try to figure out what you think are some of the trends, some of the best practice, or some of the insights, or what you think your predictions are for the HR function for 2019.
Okay.
So I want to pose you the same question.
Okay.
Where do you think the HR function is moving for 2019, specifically in Malaysia, and what are some trends, and what's your prediction for 2019 for the HR function?
I think 2019 is going to be an interesting year because firstly, the global economy is really making a lot of changes. Everyone's talking about VUCA, everyone's talking about, IR 4.0, but I'm not sure if everyone really understands the impact of 4.0,
Sure.
And so it's going to be a bit cynical, but in Malaysia we tend to jump into the bandwagon and say,
Yes.
We're talking about this, everyone's doing this.
Yes.
But the question is, do we know what it is in the
and
context of
also
our own industry?
Practically, how do you execute?
Yes.
I mean, you talked about robotics and AI and data and all these things, but executing, especially as HR, how does that work, right?
I remember when I was in Experian, I had one senior leader who said, big data. Everyone's talking about big data. It's like this sexy thing, right? And he said, it's like teenagers talking about sex, but they don't really know how to do it. It's kind of funny.
Sure.
But I think for 2019, number one, with VUCA and everything else going on, HR is going to be much more demanded to be creative, to be disrupting the role itself, because the world is so disrupted, the business is so disrupted, leaders are just going all over and like trying to understand what it is. Number two,
so there's an expectation, number one, just to get that, HR needs to be disrupting its own function.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And I think because, from the onset you see everyone's talking about robotics and AI and all those things. In fact, Chief CHRO, the other day I was in Jakarta.
Well, you are CHRO.
Yeah, the other day I was in Jakarta and the Minister of Manpower was saying maybe it should be Chief Human Resource Officer today. It should be Chief Human Robots Officer, because in the future we'll be managing that, right? But I think more and more is going to be demanding us to be more personalizing and humanizing the process, because I think a lot of people get it wrong and say, okay, we've got technology, we've got all these things, so you tend to forget about it. But you talk about leadership. Leaders today are expected to be more inspiring, more than ever, because your people don't need you for information, I said. Because I can just Google. So if they don't need you for information, what they need you is for more wisdom and from your experiences, how to connect the dots and everything else. So HR needs to play a role in leading that and driving
the effort to humanize the function.
Yes.
Okay,
and that brings about the whole idea of courage. I think 2019 you will see a lot more human resource people being pushed to be much more courageous, because the business is going to be very challenging.
Right.
There's going to be a huge competition for talent of war. There's also going to be huge challenge in terms of managing costs and people. So we're trying to achieve a lot.
To make tough decisions, courage
to make that not so nice decision of advising management and say, no, this is the way we should go, whether we should be resizing, whether we should be restructuring. And that means that you really need to look at the organization in totality. But that brings another point, which means everyone talks about HR needs to be a business driver, needs to understand the business, speaks the business language. But how far have we gone? So I think a lot more is the demand that we need to understand the business, because if you don't understand the business, how can you then advise? So I'm seeing that trend is going to be a lot more stronger than maybe 5 years ago, because everyone's talking about it. We've been talking about it for many years.
And we've been talking a lot about it, right? I mean, to be a business partner and to be that strategic HR and all that.
So interesting you bring about strategic HR, right? I mean, through my years of working in the multinational and now in local companies, everyone talks about strategic HR. What's the word about strategic HR? What is it exactly?
What does it look like?
And I think everyone wants, they know HR has to be strategic, but the question is, can HR be given that space to be strategic? Because when chaos happens, everyone goes back to numbers, because the business look at numbers. I think that the best time to do development and invest in development is when you're not really doing so well, but you have to be very much prudent in the way you channel your creativity. I mean, you're in L&D space, right?
Yes.
I mean, there are many ways to do development.
Absolutely.
And people get panicked and they say, okay, cut everything cut. But I think next year is going to be a good year for us to really, sit back and reflect and say, okay, this is the way we should be doing. Because I think we should get our organization prepared for the next 5 years to come. Because I do believe that if you look at the cycle, it will go up again. So we need to prepare the organization to go up.
Okay.
But that takes a lot of courage in questioning, challenging the business, because the business now, when things are tough, they don't really, to be honest, about people, because numbers shows, stakeholders, shareholders are all asking that. But it's our job to push the agenda and really squeeze that,
But that's going to be interesting. I mean, courage is not easy to. I mean, it's easy to talk about it, but to actually, in the right time, in the right place, in the right situation, to be able to act it and to do it, right? I think that's going to be interesting. But I foresee it's going to be a very, very interesting year, 2019, right? It's some big decisions need to be made, some big changes.
I think when you talk about courage, right? You're right, because it's easy to say, be courageous, be bold. But it comes with credibility, and credibility comes with competencies, credibility comes with experiences, credibility comes with results.
Absolutely.
So we hear a lot about, HR not getting the seat at the board, but we need to earn that and really push the agenda and say that we're as good as the finance. Because people say, co-pilot is finance. I do believe that HR needs to be the co-pilot. But to do that, we need to continue learn. We need to continue to be more,
like you say, earn the right.
Stretch ourselves beyond the comfort zone. Because I think today, many of us are thinking, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this because it's risking the portfolio. I do think that courageous decisions sometimes take you somewhere, as long as you are true to your profession and say that this is the right thing to go. Because at the end of the day, you want to go back and say, okay, I've done my best in advising management based, because I'm hired to look at that angle, because my CEO is not going to be having the time to think about succession planning in the lens that I should be advising him, right? So that takes a lot of, in reality, you're talking about, deploying in reality, it takes a lot of courage. Because you got to just say, no, this is important, and how are we going to do it, and so on and so. Because otherwise people say, is this a KPI? Because when things goes bad, everyone's like, numbers.
So I look forward to 2019, because I guess even in SP Setia, I'm sure you have some great ideas and some great initiatives, and I know you guys are going to do a great job. So, but I really think across Malaysia, there's a lot more excitement. Coming back, there's a clean up in the country. There's a whole bunch of things happening. But you give us some very good insights on those couple of points and I like courage a lot. It resonates. I think we as a function need to really go out there and be courageous. I really appreciate your thoughts.
Thank
you so much, Nadiah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.